The problem with Sonic as a franchise. How would you describe a Sonic game? What is its identity? Usually, the words used to define what a Sonic game is are "gotta go fast", as the original premise was that, going fast. The better you performed, the faster you got, and you felt the blast processing power Sega used as a promotion tool for a while, over 2 decades ago. Something we have to accept while playing a Sonic game, especially a 2D Sonic game, is that combat is not as smooth as it is on other games, due to the fact that usually during your first playthrough of a 2D game, you couldn't see the upcoming enemies and they halted your speed as you didn't have the proper time to react. This was an issue due to how fast the game was compared to other platformers of the time. Sonic games had a rough time adapting to the 3D platforming gameplay because it needed to preserve the 2D identity as well as Mario could on Super Mario 64. With this, we get to Sonic Forces, a game that tries to fix some of the issues while creating new ones that one wouldn't expect at first. The main gameplay, while playing as Sonic, are the speed segments, where you go fast in a Sonic Run kind of fashion. The second main mechanic is combat, where you engage in a playstyle closer to Sonic Boom than to Sonic Unleashed. Segments where your OC can destroy hordes of enemies by pressing a single button. The speed segments on previous games were rewarding because they were the product of your skill at levels you knew. But, as psychology has discovered, too much of something good and you start losing interest, as it is not as rewarding, especially if you haven't earned the right to that prize. The speed segments seem to be part of a racing game, where enemies are just as for a spectacle, not as a real challenge, because you defeat them just by using your boost, taking away the challenge and strategy. When you play as your OC, just by holding down the attack button, you clean entire stages, both top-down and 2D, making this a patience challenge instead of mastering the mechanics of the game. Look at this segment. Is this fun? Is this a challenge? You're not really fighting the enemies, they are just there being a defenseless roadblock. Look at the following speedrun of Sonic 2's Chemical Plant level, one I really disliked as a kid, because of the part with the floating platforms in which if you timed your steps poorly, you ended up underwater, at risk of dying from the spikes. But because of this guy's skill, he dashes through the whole level without even going to that part. This is a rewarding level design, where those who have polished their skills can pass through the game without even bothering with certain parts of the level. With the increasing cost of game development, making large stages with diverging paths, and some areas players may never even explore, cutting them is a sacrifice some companies are willing to make. A topic for a future video, because EA has decreased their development cost $300 million per year and increased profit by a huge margin. So, it's time for the questions. Has Sonic lost his identity? Did he even have one when it came to 3D games? Let's discuss, because the gameplay changes each game. Adventure, Generations, Colors, Unleashed, 06, Lost World, etc. They all have tried to innovate in their approach to gameplay, art style and storytelling, but they have been a hit and miss. You easily recognize them as Sonic games, but after playing them, you know they aren't the same.